Hello everyone, and welcome back to NPA Discovery, the channel where we uncover the untold stories behind the world's most iconic names, the ones that shaped culture, challenged the norm, and sometimes, hid shocking truths behind the curtain of perfection. Today, we're diving into the life of a man whose name has become synonymous with power, precision, and elegance, Giorgio Armani. But just before his passing, Armani, hailed as the most successful Italian designer in history, faced a stunning blow. He was fined millions for untruthful ethical statements, and when investigators looked deeper, what they found shook the fashion world to its core. Now, before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more true stories of ambition, love, and downfall, stories that remind us that greatness always comes at a cost. For decades, Giorgio Armani seemed untouchable. His name didn't just appear on clothes, it defined them. His minimalist suits reimagined masculinity, his elegance shaped Hollywood's red carpets, and his empire stood as one of the few independent fashion houses left in a world dominated by conglomerates. But behind the flawless surface of his empire, Armani was a man of deep contradictions, a private soul guarding secrets, a perfectionist struggling to control every detail, and eventually, an aging visionary whose legacy began to crack under its own perfection. And perhaps that's what makes his story so haunting. Because it's not just a tale of success, it's a lesson about how even the most beautiful lives can hide shadows. Let's step back in time, to the small Italian town of Piacenza in the early 1930s. Giorgio Armani was born into modest circumstances. His father, an accountant, earned just enough to provide, and his mother, a devoted homemaker, made sure her children were clothed, sometimes literally, with her own two hands. They weren't rich, but they had dignity. And that, Armani would later say, was his first lesson in style. Because true elegance, in his eyes, was never about money, it was about how you carried yourself when you had none. But his childhood was far from serene. Italy was in the throes of World War II, and young Giorgio witnessed horrors that left permanent scars. In one interview years later, he recalled a chilling memory of throwing his little sister into a pit and covering her with his jacket as enemy planes screamed overhead, raining bullets from the sky. On another occasion, a shell exploded near him, leaving burns across his body. He survived, but those moments forged something unshakable within him: discipline, control, and an obsession with order. Because when the world falls apart around you, sometimes the only way to survive is to build beauty out of chaos. Ironically, the foundation of Armani's empire began not in fashion schools or elite ateliers, but in the hands of his mother. She made all the children's clothes, clean, pressed, and perfectly tailored. Even in poverty, they looked rich. This detail may seem small, but it shaped his entire philosophy. Armani once said, "Elegance is not about being noticed, it's about being remembered." That was his mother's teaching, quiet dignity in every stitch. But back then, fashion was nowhere on his mind. Armani had a different dream: to become a doctor. He enrolled at the University of Milan in 1950 to study medicine. Imagine that, the man who would one day redefine style began his adult life dissecting cadavers, not fabrics. He lasted only 3 years before realizing something crucial: he didn't have the stomach for blood, but he had the eye for detail. Still, he didn't quit life, only medicine. Instead, he joined the Italian military, where his medical background helped him serve in hospitals. Those years in uniform added something else to his future vision: a deep respect for structure and simplicity. The clean lines, the symmetry, the discipline. Later, all these military traits would become signatures of the Armani look. After leaving the army, Armani didn't know exactly where he belonged. Italy in the 1950s was rebuilding, reinventing itself. Milan was alive with new art, design, and culture. And one day, almost by accident, he stepped into a world that would change his destiny forever: the high-end department store La Rinascente. At first, he was just a window dresser, arranging displays, folding suits, greeting clients. But Armani wasn't just selling products, he was studying them. He watched how people touched fabrics, how they reacted to colors, how clothes changed the way they stood or smiled. Slowly, he realized, fashion wasn't just about cloth. It was about identity, confidence, and illusion. It could transform a person. He didn't know it yet, but the quiet salesman rearranging ties in a Milan boutique was about to become one of the most influential designers in history. The year was 1980. Actor Richard Gere was about to star in American Gigolo, a film about a suave male escort, and Armani was asked to design his wardrobe. The result was cinematic magic. Gere's sleek gray suits, the famous scene of him choosing outfits from a drawer full of Armani jackets, it was fashion history. Suddenly, Armani wasn't just a designer, he was a cultural icon. His suits became the uniform of modern masculinity, powerful yet understated, sexy without trying. Even Wall Street executives and movie stars alike began calling their tailors, asking for Armani style. It's no exaggeration to say that Armani did for the modern man what Coco Chanel once did for women, he liberated them from old rules. But every revolution comes with a price. The bigger Armani's empire grew, the more he lost himself inside it. When I look at Armani's early journey, it's more than just a story of success, it's a psychological portrait. A boy who once hid from bombs grew into a man obsessed with control. Every line in his suits, every image his company released, all reflected his need to impose order on a chaotic world. And it worked, for decades. But as history often shows us, when you build an empire on perfection, even a single crack can make it crumble. The making of a visionary. When Giorgio Armani first set foot inside La Renaissance, the luxury department store in Milan, no one could have imagined the revolution quietly taking form behind that modest sales counter. Armani was in his mid-20s, not a designer, not even a tailor, just a young man with an eye for detail and a quiet hunger for beauty. He spent hours rearranging window displays, obsessing over lighting, textures, and symmetry. His colleagues often said that Armani treated those glass windows like miniature runways, as though he could already see the future of fashion shimmering behind them. And perhaps he could. Because what Armani understood better than anyone else at the time, was human presence. He wasn't just designing clothes, he was sculpting an identity. Many forget that in the post-war years, Italy was reinventing itself. The country wanted to move past rubble and pain, into a modern world of elegance and sophistication. And Armani, unknowingly, became part of that rebirth. His early years in the store taught him something most designers never learn, that fashion wasn't about fabric first, it was about feeling first. That emotional intelligence, born from poverty, war, and survival, became his greatest tool. He had learned restraint from his father, who always believed that dignity didn't need to shout. And from his mother, who could make a child's coat look noble with just a few stitches of love, he learned the secret power of subtlety. When he later stripped the padding from men's jackets and softened the structure of suits, critics called it a revolution. Armani called it simply honesty. He was designing clothes that let people move like themselves again, and in that idea, freedom through simplicity, lay the genius of Giorgio Armani. Rebirth through discipline. After Sergio's death, many doubted whether Armani could keep the company afloat. Sergio had been the businessman, the strategist who dealt with numbers, contracts, and partnerships. Armani was the artist. But those who underestimated him didn't understand the steel hidden behind that soft linen. Instead of fading, Armani expanded. He opened new lines, Emporio Armani for younger customers, Armani Exchange for streetwear, and Armani Pride for haute couture. He designed perfumes, watches, home decor, even hotels. By the mid-1990s, Armani wasn't just a designer anymore. He was a global brand. And yet, he remained fiercely independent. While other fashion houses sold their shares to conglomerates like LVMH or Kering, Armani refused. He never wanted Wall Street telling him what art should look like. It's rare in business, rarer still in fashion, for one man to maintain such control for so long. But Armani's secret wasn't stubbornness. It was loyalty, loyalty to his vision, to his craft, and to the idea that fashion should serve people, not the other way around. The Empire of Elegance. By the mid-1980s, Giorgio Armani had become more than just a designer, he was an empire. His name alone was synonymous with quiet luxury. He didn't just create clothing, he created a lifestyle. His suits were now worn not only by Hollywood stars but also by world leaders, CEOs, and anyone who wanted to project power with restraint. Armani understood something profound: true elegance never screams, it whispers. But success brought challenges. As his empire expanded, Armani was forced to become more than an artist, he became a businessman. He oversaw every detail, from fabric selection to store lighting, from the angle of mannequins to the scent inside his boutiques. His perfectionism bordered on obsession, but that's exactly what made his brand flawless. Then came Armani Prive, his haute couture line, proof that his minimalist vision could live in the most luxurious realm of fashion. Yet, even in couture, Armani refused excess. His designs were pure, architectural, almost spiritual. By this time, the Armani logo was on everything, from perfumes to hotels, from sunglasses to furniture. But unlike many fashion houses that lost their soul in expansion, Armani managed to keep control. He refused to sell his company to any conglomerate. He remained fiercely independent. And that decision would become one of the boldest in fashion history. The Lonely King. Behind Armani's immaculate public image, there was solitude. He never married, and though rumors about his private life circulated for decades, he remained silent, graceful in mystery. He once admitted that his true love was his work. Perhaps that was his greatest devotion, but also his greatest isolation. The loss of his longtime partner and collaborator, Sergio Gagliotti, in 1985, deeply marked him. Gagliotti had been more than a co-founder of his empire, he was Armani's emotional anchor, the man who believed in his genius when no one else did. After Gagliotti's death, Armani buried himself in work, perhaps to escape grief, perhaps to honor their shared dream. In interviews, Armani often reflected on mortality and legacy. He said, "I don't want my name to vanish with me." So he built his brand not just for fashion's fleeting moment, but for eternity, creating something that could stand alongside Chanel or Dior in history. Today, Giorgio Armani is not merely a designer, he's a symbol of endurance, of purity in creation, and of the idea that beauty, when born from simplicity, never dies. In a world of noise, he built a legacy of silence. In a business obsessed with change, he built permanence. And in an age where fame fades overnight, Giorgio Armani remains, the man who taught the world that true elegance is eternal. A legacy written in light and shadow. As the years passed, Armani became something more than a brand, he became an aesthetic philosophy, the embodiment of modern classicism. His suits redefined power dressing for both men and women, his perfumes became global icons, and his hotels embodied his belief that luxury should whisper, never shout. But Armani's empire was also built on loss. The death of friends, the loneliness of leadership, and the pressure of being a symbol all left invisible scars. He has said in interviews that fame is a double-edged sword. It offers recognition, yes, but it isolates too. He never chased celebrity friendships or the social spotlight. Instead, he preferred quiet dinners, reflection, and work. In a world where designers built their identities through scandal or controversy, Armani built his through restraint. He became a paradox, both one of the most famous men in fashion and one of its most private souls. Even in his Grand Milan headquarters, surrounded by modern architecture and the hum of creative energy, Armani often retreats to solitude. It's there that he sketches, with the same calm, deliberate hand he had as a young man. Perhaps that's what keeps him timeless, his refusal to let success erase simplicity. The final curtain, still unfolding. Today, Giorgio Armani stands as the last of his kind, the final titan of an era when designers were both craftsmen and philosophers. He has outlived trends, rivals, and decades of transformation. His empire remains independent, a rare feat in a world where luxury houses are swallowed by conglomerates. And yet, Armani's gaze is not backward. He continues to plan, to design, to mentor. When asked about retirement, he once replied, "I'll stop when I have nothing left to say. But I still have something to show." His company now spans every corner of the globe, from runways to red carpets, yet he remains at its heart, calm, watchful, enduring. For Armani, fashion has never been about fame or fortune, it has always been about creating beauty that transcends time. As he walks through his atelier, the hum of sewing machines in the background, bolts of fabric glowing under soft light, he embodies his philosophy: understated strength, quiet power, eternal grace. And so, the story of Giorgio Armani continues, not as a tale of one man's success, but as a timeless reminder that true style is not about what you wear, it's about what you choose to be.